Good morning, people. As some of you know, my name is Ron Waters. I am the founder and the director of an organisation, an Australian registered charity called P.A.I.N, which stands for People Against Intentional Neglect. What I'm doing this video for today is to let you all know a little bit about my past and why I created P.A.I.N. I was born in 1973. I was born in Brisbane, Australia, in Queensland. By 1980, I was removed from my birth parents, or actually being my birth mother. My birth father had left my birth mother. My mother was abused a lot by my father and by other men which she'd had relationships with after my father, which I was witness to, and I was also abused both physically and sexually before the age of 5 on multiple occasions. My mother made a choice to offer me a better life, and she adopted me out with my younger sister. We were adopted into a very loving family, which I still bear the surname of. My adoptive father was probably the most respectful. He had, most moral and principled man I'd ever been blessed to know. My adoptive mother, I would rather not say anything. I know she loved me. I loved her dearly. Somewhere along the line we fell out of touch. For a long time I believe that was because I wasn't her child, but as I've grown older and wiser, I've realised that probably wasn't the case. By 12 years old, I suppose I was a bit of a rat of a child. I knew that my parents weren't my parents, and they did work long hours, so they were never really home. So I just never felt that I fit in with that family, so I used to run away, and I was quite a sort of little troublemaker. So I was taken into the care and made a ward of the state of Queensland. I was under a care and control and a care and protection order. I was put into a youth hostel in Blowers, which was at Carrara on the Gold Coast. That was a lovely establishment. I spent a couple of years there, and went through school, some good schools. From there, I went home. I was offered, because I'd behaved myself and things like that, I was offered to go back home to my family. At this time, there was a few things going on in the family, personal issues. Relationships weren't working, and kids were growing up and moving in with their partners and whatnot. My brothers had a few issues with, like most of us boys in the family did. We got into the drugs and things like that. So everyone seemed to sort of disappear, and here I was left with this bloody big house, and so being me, no idea, I trashed the house. So I got picked up by, and I moved onto the streets. Costing my adoptive father quite a lot of money in repairs and things and clean up of the house, because being a youth, I just allowed other youth to come in and pretty much squat there for free. So my adoptive father sort of kicked me out of that house, which I didn't blame him at all. Now that I look back, it was quite disgraceful behaviour, and I don't justify it with anything, my past or anything else. Maybe a bit of guidance probably would have been good at that time, but yeah, that's another story. From there, I lived on the streets, and I was picked up by a social worker who apparently was my caseworker. She seemed to know who I was, but I don't think I'd ever met her at this stage. And she offered me a placement in a boys' home in Queensland at Kalanga. And I don't mind naming things, and I'll probably get trouble for this, but it was Marsden Boys' Home. which was closed in 1992, I believe, because of what happened in that boys' home. Now that boys' home was actually quite abusive. There were certain staff in there that had no problem raping male um, um, uh, what would you call male victims. We weren't meant to be victims. We were meant to be there to be cared for, and treated like a big family. It, you know, I wasn't the only boy that was raped on multiple occasions. I also received a lot of physical abuse, um, abuse that created a lot of scars, both internal and external, as well as the scars within my mind. Um, I was in and out of Marsden Boys Home, from there into other institutions, back to Marsden Boys Home, into other institutions, back to Marsden Boys Home. This went on until virtually I was 18 years old, where they said, "Here you go, here's your $14 pocket money and the clothes you wear, and live life." Well, with a year 9 education, not much trust in authority, and a battered and scarred body and soul, I didn't really know what to do or where to go, so I got myself into a fair bit of trouble, got on drugs, got into alcohol, and the next 2-3 years were probably some of the most scarring years of my life. I trusted the wrong people, and I was involved in the wrong things. I This is very hard for me, and I thank you for your patience if you are watching this. I am aware that there are probably a lot of triggers within this conversation, or within this video. It's not a conversation because you're not talking back. But I'd like to raise awareness, and I'd like to be known that men too are victims, or boys, men, we're victims too of abuse, both sexually and physically. We're victims also of domestic violence. We're victims of suicide. We're victims of bullying, and we're victims of child abuse. All these things are real, and they are very rampant in Australia. We have a government, to me, and again, I might get in trouble for this, and I just say what I see, mate. And I've seen over 60 years, well, not personally seen, I've seen 40 years of abuse within my own eyes and my own body. Beyond that, I've seen my mother, 60 years later, she copped the same abuse, different institutions, different state, but the same thing went on. Everyone kept it quiet, and it's still kept quiet now today, and we're in 2015. If we don't start making changes, and if our government doesn't step up and actually get rid of all the corrupt, predatory officials that are amongst our ranks, and they are there, we all know it, okay? So let's be honest. And start making some changes, some real changes to legislations, laws. How does a person who sexually assaults, multiple minors under 7 years old get a 2-year suspended sentence? Now, how does that happen? How do government officials keep position even though they've been degraded down to a lower rank, but they still take a wage, and they're still, whilst they're on charges of child sex pornography or child sex offences? I would think that the government would have a duty of care, which I believe that they're all failing at the moment. And if I had bloody millions of dollars and a bloody good lawyer, I'd probably sue them, because they do fail in the duty of care of its communities. Time after time, we see children just taken off the streets. We see, seriously, you don't get told the amounts that it actually happens unless you're in local areas. If every local area broadcasted what's happened in their area daily, you would be dead set astounded at the amounts of children that go missing, children abused, women abused, men abused, suicides. It's woeful. The statistics are fabricated, okay? Now, any government statistic, well, I can't say that, okay, because some of them actually do their job, and some of them do take on the challenge, and because it is a challenge, to find out the real statistics of what goes on. But when it comes to statistics of youth suicide or any form of suicide, bullying, domestic violence, or child abuse in this country, they are fabricated. It is way worse than what they let us know, but they can't let us know because it would create an epidemic. Last thing they want is us taking control and us, taking the law into our hands, which I understand. But, where do we draw the line? Years and years of abuse. We have abusers within our authorities. We have Royal Commission after Royal Commission, which gets nowhere. Most of them Royal Commissions, are they honest and just? Well, I don't think so personally, but I can't say. Okay, I'm not a part of it. I have put in submissions to a couple of Royal Commissions in the last year and a half, and those submissions have been taken on. I have received notification back that yes, they've received, and they're actually acknowledged what I've had to say. I've done this by myself and also with multiple other groups. When it comes to raising awareness for issues like domestic violence, child abuse, suicide, and bullying, more and more people are stepping up to the plate, which is great to see. More and more community members, people who live and have or have lived with these very serious issues in their life. And if we want to be serious, just about every Australian household is affected by one or more of these issues in some way, shape, or form. So I don't understand why we take money away from these issues. The only way to start, if you're going to take money, well then what are you putting in place? Do you have now to have the resources that you don't have to spend the money to buy those resources because they're already there? No, you don't. Okay, so it's a big fail there. Okay, and this is why, seriously, 2014 was one of the biggest media years I seen, and I watch it very carefully daily. It was one of the biggest media years I seen showing tragedy for what it was. Now, if people weren't affected by that, well, I'm pretty scared then, because that means that we've hit an inhumane level that I didn't think we were at. I was hoping we'd never get to, but you know, people have to start showing they care, right? People have to start standing up and speaking out. Now, I know a lot of people out there are victims of things that are happening in Australia, okay? And it's not about, what culture we come from or anything like that. They don't discriminate on colour or creed. They don't discriminate on religion or gender, okay? These predators, they target everyone and anyone. And if you're susceptible, or if you're not alert or aware of these behaviours, you're putting yourself more at risk, and your children and your family members more at risk, okay? So the only way we can raise awareness is actually to speak up about it. We have to break the silence, okay, because the silence has been there for too long, and now we have these wrong stigmas out there, We can't fight against each other. All these groups, women violence groups, man violence groups, children's violence groups, why are we working against each other? Why are we putting each other down? Okay, we can all be victims. This is the main thing. This is the point I'm trying to get across. We can all be victims. Okay. Now the thing is, the only way we're going to make any progress here is to unite as a strong body. Okay, and I'm not saying you have to do it under P.A.I.N's banner. Okay, P.A.I.N has its purpose, its vision, its constitution. Okay, and we live by that. But I am very willing to step, to walk beside any organisation that stands for the same. That has the same vision of what P.A.I.N has, or it stands for the prevention of these violent crimes. We have to start saving people, mate. We have to start saving souls. Okay, I see too much heartache. I see too much tragedy. If we don't start fixing it now, it's only going to get worse, and then we're going to get to a point where we can't do nothing. Well, at this point, we can do something, each and every one of us. Okay, so please play your part. Okay. This is the reason why I started P.A.I.N. Being a victim myself of many of the things many of the things that I deal with, I was a victim of myself. Now, I've been on many medications. I've tried all types of things to take away the flashbacks, to live a normal life. I have bipolar and PTSD, which are both very under control. I use pain as my motivation and my positive. People who understand bipolar and PTSD, the positives are good, but you've got to be careful you don't run, they don't get too high, because sometimes you can take on a little bit more than what you can chew. Well, for some reason, I don't medicate anymore, and I haven't for many years. I use, the motivation and things that I do to medicate myself and keep myself at that sort of level where I can do things. So I take on everything I do as a challenge, and as a positive challenge, because I'm all about helping people and making a difference and securing a future for us that we can all be proud of, and that keeps our children out of harm's way. The next generation. We've got to look after the next generation. Okay, a lot of us stuffed our generation. Okay, for whatever reasons. Okay, now pain is there to help people. Okay, at the moment we are very early in the stages. Last year was our first year as a registered. 2014 was the first year as a registered organisation, and we got 6 nominations in 5 different groups for community community awards and volunteer awards in South Australia, which I think was a great achievement, being our first year as a registered organisation. And P.A.I.N doesn't have a lot of resources and a lot of people. To be honest, it's me and a couple of other people that actually run P.A.I.N, and there's under 5 people that really fight for P.A.I.N, like face to face. I do a lot of it on my own, and for this, my fulfillment and the way I am enriched by what I do with P.A.I.N is to watch people, to turn people's lives around, to take their life from tragedy and turn it into a success. Okay, and I don't mean that they're wealthy people, and I don't mean that they own beautiful cars and nice big houses. I mean that they're able to control what feelings they have, and they're able to live a normal life. They're able to have relationships, because I tell you now, trauma affects all these things in life. Okay, I call it the ripple effect, and the ripple effect's now been around for a while. A lot of organisations, recognise the ripple effect, and what the ripple, we drop the stone and the waves are created. Okay, you have the person who's been through the trauma. Okay, and it doesn't just affect them. It affects their whole life. It affects their family. It affects their children. It affects their education. The whole lot. Okay. All right. I'm gonna make another video in a not too far future. If you want to know a bit more about P.A.I.N, jump over to www.p-i-n-australia.com and have a look at what we do. Find us on Facebook at P.A.I.N Australia or P.A.I.N AUS, or just look up P.A.I.N, P-A-I-N. I hope that I help someone by this video. I'm not sure if I do, and I'm not sure that I've explained myself fully. I'm not here to explain myself. I'm here just to let you know what I do, and that P.A.I.N is there for each and every one of you. Okay, that's what we do. We support people. We don't judge. We listen, and we believe. Okay, stay safe, stay strong.